ValveTime.net.
Hello and welcome to episode 2 of ValveTime TalkTime. We're back due to popular demand, as they say.
That is a total...
No, we got some very good comments from the last video. People said they liked the episode, they liked the show, and they said they'd like to see some more from us. So we're back again. It's me and Glenn again. So okay, that makes some sense. John is here with me. John?
I can't... Hi guys, but Glenn's kind of a lie because I kind of paid them to say that.
Well, how's your week been, John? You're an artist in resident.
It's been busy. It's been busy.
Good. And Nick, video editor extraordinaire, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here. Hello. Also been a busy week getting the interview out with James, so that was good.
Yeah, James, you did an interview with Cakebread of Stanley Parable, didn't you, this week?
Yes, Davey Redden. We're best friends now.
Yeah, you can go and watch that video somewhere above or below me or to the left or right. Nick, do you want to do an annotation at this point?
I'll put an annotation somewhere, yeah.
You should put it on my face. Can you put it on my face?
Yeah, it'll be right on your face, yeah.
All right, please, in order to listen to the interview, click on my face.
This is getting weird. Okay, so yeah, click on James's face, but if you want to stay with us, which I think you should also do, and click his face after. First of all, let's answer some questions about last week. We got a bunch of comments last week. Just want to answer a couple of those and feedback into some people. So firstly, Samuel Adam said, Valve Time oddly reminds me of Tool Time. Anyone know what that means? Or okay, right. Thanks, Samuel. Anyway, Tornado 2111. Tornadoes 211111. Let me appreciate ValveTime more because now I understand how much work and how many people are really behind it, which is really nice actually. So don't insult Tornado. That's really nice of him.
That's quite nice.
That is.
Yeah. As much as I joke around about Nick being the worst person to work with ever, like,
and vice versa.
I know that he puts a ton of work, producing the videos and trying to get them out on time after I have delivered audio like 3 days ago. So.
Yeah, exactly. And you've also got obviously John with all the art that he does as well, and you've got the guys who post the articles and find things on the website which are not on this show. But maybe.
Yeah, you don't even know their names.
I don't know their names. No.
Neither do I. Just the slaves.
But we will bring them on in future episodes, and I will introduce them to you guys as if they're my best friend, and you'll never know. Next one was from a guy called Fusha Soshoi. I give up. It says add a girl to the team. 4 guys is a bit too much. Any ideas we could do that, John? We could put you in a dress.
I'll be very honest. I would love to see that.
John in a dress.
This is getting weird.
Well. Yes, John. No. Having a more diverse team. If at all possible. Like I don't want to like take people onto the team just to fill things to be more diverse, but I would be very happy if that was something that we were able to attract talent from.
Right, okay. Well, we look for more people to be joining us in the future. We'll need more people as we continue to expand in the future, so we may well do in the near future. Ginger the Raptor said, who does the ValveTime voice at the start of the videos? Someone want to answer that?
I've already answered it on the comments, actually. It's Meryl Dandridge, the woman who voices Alex Vance in Half-Life 2.
Yes, indeed.
Yep.
And the last question we've got here from Cami Camera says that he would pay... Well, actually, this is actually on topic for last week. We talked about the Steam box. He said that he'd pay $200, and Privacy and Helder Pinto said they'd pay about $500 max. I think that was generally the prices that we talked about last week, which we thought was about reasonable. But as we said, modular boxes for your grandma or for a teenager or whatever, different prices for different people. So, yeah, that was a general cross-section of what we had from the feedback from the first video. But this week we'll be talking about Steam Workshop and how it's affected Valve's approach to game development, how it's changed their games, and what the difference is between games that have got it and that didn't have it or are getting it, and how that's changed things. So this is off the back of some news late last week. Left 4 Dead 2 has now got workshop support, and I think CSGO is now in a closed beta, I understand.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
so that will have, perhaps by the time this video has gone out, or maybe in a couple of weeks' time, workshop will be live for CSGO as well, something that Counter-Strike's never had in the past. But it's really changed the sort of the spectrum for Valve games in workshop. It's allowed people to get more involved from the community, develop their own products they want to put into the game, and it's actually projected some people into the industry by doing so. They've earned a lot of money from doing it. It's been quite impressive. So how do you guys think it's changed? Let's just take some Valve games that they've brought in the last couple of years. How has it changed the games from having Workshop?
I would say one thing that Workshop has done is it has removed a lot of barriers to getting your work out there and seen by people. So, it's like a way long time ago, I actually made, I was super fancy doing Day of Defeat Source and made a few orange maps, because that was a very popular thing at the time, doing these maps that were all just dev textures. And so it's actually kind of difficult getting your stuff out there so that people will play it. It's you need to rely on all of the people who run the servers. They need to look at your map and be like, yeah, okay, this sounds cool, and then load it onto their server, and it's just it's complicated. It's very involved, and so as a result, you don't really get a whole lot of exposure. With something like Workshop, my incredibly terrible maps that were very poorly optimized and looked really awful very easily could have reached a much wider audience, been a lot easier for people to access and see.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I feel like that is in itself both a good and bad thing for the very reasons that I'm kind of stating. It's very easy to flood the market with really bad maps. It's already pretty flooded as it is, and now more barriers have been removed. However, at the same time, people who do become popular, hopefully what will wind up happening is more people of quality map making skill will become visible.
Mm-hmm. On that basis, James, do you obviously you've got more exposure, but you go on the Workshop, you can now vote things. You can thumbs up, thumbs down system, which is it's quite simplistic, but people do add comments and give feedback and try and improve things. And I've seen projects come along a lot further than from the original inception by the feedback they've been given, which is amazing. I mean, feedback's one of the best things you can get as a modder, someone who's trying to develop anything from the people that are looking at it. Do you thumbs up, thumbs down to people who are watching this video? Do you thumbs up, thumbs down things on Workshop? Are you involved in the feedback process? Do people do that?
I personally am not. I don't know about the rest of you.
If something stands out enough for me that I really enjoy it, I'll give them feedback and I'll vote up or down for it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more likely to like or dislike something on there, rather than sort of comment and get involved, because usually I haven't actually used the Workshop all that much, to be honest, which sounds kind of surprising. But I mean, I've only really used it for Portal 2. And I mean, I did like and dislike on that, but never really got involved in kind of the creation side, giving people feedback, and even though I probably should have. Mm-hmm. I think more people should as well. But I personally, no, I haven't.
On the Portal Workshop, it's quite scary. James was just saying, you've removed a lot of barriers, and the Portal Workshop is so simplistic. Well, the editor is so simplistic that there's literally almost no barriers anymore, and the scale and volume of content, which is quite bad, is astounding. And I don't know if that's benefited it or if it's made it more difficult to find what you're looking for. But certainly a lot of other games have really benefited from it. I mean, Dota 2, we look at that, and Left 4 Dead 2, already a lot of items have gone in. I think it's 800 now since talking about the video, when we only said it's 300-ish. Yeah, I guess that, we talk about Valve and the amount of power they've got in terms of people that work with them and the amount of expertise they've got to give to time to develop these things, and they just don't have the manpower to create the amount of content which comes out of Steam Workshop. So we're seeing so much more than they used to be able to develop. Compare this to TF2, how often items used to come out of the first couple of hats, which they're now getting rid of. How long it takes to put those things together, and we're seeing the community develop them and just roll them out week on week. We can see new things, like from one week to the next. The Workshop has so many new items. Surely that's a better thing, to have all this new content on a weekly basis.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of TF2, it's like it's having a workforce you don't pay, that are simply working for fun or for essentially imaginary, pay that they might get eventually. They might not ever get paid for it, but they might. So I think that's kind of a kind of mental incentive to actually work for this stuff, and if nothing else, just to get experience, modeling or making textures, or learning to import something into a game, which is experience for wider industry jobs, in the game industry.
Do you think that's changed people's approach to workshop now? I mean, and originally when people started off, was it just for fun? Now are people seeing, these interviews that are on PC Gamer the other week where some people had made six-figure salaries and now started up their own game studios just for making a couple of hats? Do you think people are now looking at it from the wrong perspective? They're thinking...
I think it's a bit of both.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's the wrong perspective. I'd say it's just a different perspective than it was in the beginning. Because in the beginning it was probably, I can get some cool, skins for a weapon. And now it's sort of, okay, I can actually work towards something and try and, show my stuff off and get, a name out there, as well as getting paid for it and getting, people actually commenting and saying, I really like this and things like that,
Well, see, the only thing that I see an issue as, like I personally, and I've talked with you, Glenn, about this, how I have so many cool ideas, like I even, sketched them out and everything, but I can't model at all worth crap to, be able to make my items and submit them to workshop and see if people would like them. Because, I came up with a couple of Left 4 Dead concepts and Dota 2, but again, who can you work with out there that would like to, help you and make your item, become reality?
On that note, if you happen to be out there and you are willing to work with John, feel free to leave us a comment down below in the
That was a sly
comment section.
promotion from your front, John. But that's fine. You're welcome to do that.
But in all reality, it's the truth though.
No,
because
you're right.
It's also an honor system as well, because you don't want to get gypped out of getting credit for your item that you've made either.
Well, I'll just say, guys, that I did lend John some money recently, and he still hasn't paid me back. So be careful. He is a bit of a sly one. But yeah, from that perspective, we talk about trust, and there's something that falls into the workshop as well. I think Valve have taken it upon themselves. A lot of community content in the past has been hosted on third-party websites. Over the years, we use ModDB and things like this. Planet Phillip's a good resource for single-player maps. But a lot of this workshop that they've put in place now takes a lot of the third parties out of the equation. Left 4 Dead maps, we were talking about before we started recording. It seems Valve had some problems with them. They originally quite officially supported them, but I won't make official comment on it here because I don't really understand the circumstances. But I think they had some problems where they wanted to make it an official stance where they were hosting the maps themselves, Valve, rather than having third parties do so. I mean, I don't know if this is a community kill-off from that side, or if just making it official has actually made it, more accessible by people. Which way around is it?
I would say in a lot of things, it's simply becoming more accessible. One example, my real only experience with workshop so far has been with Legend of Grimrock. They recently, after they had released the full single player game, they then made a patch that added a developer kit and really geared the game so that fans could essentially add content and value to the full purchase. And had workshop not existed, I would have to go through something like, the Nexus that hosts stuff for like Oblivion and Skyrim and all of that. Or I would have had to go to just their forums and download everything individually and install everything. And I mean, I've been doing that ever since Half-Life, but it's still a pain. It's still frustrating and all these layers. Now I can go through on like Legend of Grimrock and just be like, okay, I want this one, and then I can wait for them to download, jump into the game, and then just try them out right then and there.
Did you know that it had workshop before you bought the game, or did you buy it knowing that?
I bought it before it had workshop.
Right. Okay. So it didn't influence your decision in purchasing it.
Correct. I will say that had I been more on the about it, I definitely would have bought it because of workshop. I personally feel that workshop really works best at adding value to single player games. I am not the kind of person that cares about cosmetic items. There are plenty of people who do, and that's completely a stylistic choice. It has no appeal to me at all. I don't care about a hat that makes me look different or special. I don't care about anything that makes me look different or special. All I care about is being able to play what I want to play and hopefully play it well. With Legend of Grimrock, it's an entirely new single player experience, sometimes really good, sometimes really bad, but you at least are given the opportunity to try out something new and without a lot of real effort into doing so.
Conversely to that, you do have some items which are cosmetic in the sense in Dota 2, like announcer packs and other additional things like banners they have in the game. And although they are, to a degree, not giving you any new content in terms of, like you're saying, maps and things like that, it does improve or change the game experience to some degree. I think, we all have some items here at Dota 2, don't we? John, do you have some announcer packs? And
I don't have any announcer packs.
you don't have any?
Right this time, no.
But I mean, would you buy one? Would you like custom ones and things like that? I mean, does that appeal to you?
Well, I think it depends on either the cost and how much they're willing to sell it, or I guess how much somebody's willing to pay for it. Because, I mean, some of us, like me, are poor and can't buy stuff from the shop.
Yeah, well, the thing is that I think of it from the perspective of I just like having access to so much more content. We've been following Valve for so many years,
Right.
and they've never been able to churn content out at this level before. But by having these third party people coming in to do so, I mean, we were looking at this. We look at a lot of the companies involved in outsourcing of Valve games in the past. Since the Orange Box and Left 4 Dead 2, Hidden Path were involved in the game art. Turtle Rock Studios did some of the DLC. Counter-Strike Global Offensive was heavily outsourced. Hidden Path did a lot of the game design. Art Bully did some of the character models. There's Laksha Digital was a company based in India that did some of the game art, and Liquid Development as well. These are all companies that we've seen working outsourced games by Valve to work on the assets. Just because Valve don't have the manpower to do a lot of this extra work, they've got so many people working on so many different things. By having Workshop supplement their development, it means that you're getting so much more from them than we're used to.
Well, it's like, if you remember back, Valve always used to do, and they still do it, free DLC, which is something very few other companies have actually touched. If you look at the Workshop in that light, it's just, all it is an extension of that, where it is outsourcing, like you said, Glenn, but it's kind of optional DLC as well as, and you're not paying anything for things like Left 4 Dead, maps, or say Skyrim, whatever, campaigns or whatever else. But it's totally free content, that they set up the hub, but apart from that, they're not really doing any other work on it, and yet it enhances, the player's experience, as you said before, as, which acts as an incentive to, maybe buy or to play again, sort of thing.
But do you think at the same time that takes away people's, like, oh, well, Valve didn't do this, do I really want to play it? Because how some people are like, oh, well, if it's Valve, if the campaign is made by Valve, well, then, it must be really, really good.
It depends. I mean, if something's sort of risen to the top of the Workshop, like a Left 4 Dead 2 campaign or a new skin or whatever else, I think that's enough incentive for somebody to go, okay, this has X number of likes. Okay, it must be quite good. I'll try it out. I think that's the incentive, more so than, oh, well, Valve haven't touched it, so therefore I'm not going to touch it. You know what I mean?
Right.
There is still some problem with exposure and Workshop. The up and down system does work to a degree, but there is some content which I think has been lost generally on there, or that it's difficult to rise to the top. I mean, some people have got really good perspectives on it. I think a lady who used to used to be on Half-Life 2.net and ValveTime, who did the Saharan Spy pack for TF2, and now she's done so many extra other things for Dota 2 as well, and she was recently interviewed on PC Gamer. She's doing really well. She's got a job in the industry now, having made quite a lot of money. I think she's got quite a high platform now, in which when she adds extra items to the Workshop, it floats pretty much straight to the top. In the polycount contest, she had a lot of visibility, but there's some people that I know a couple of people who have been working on items have only got a couple of likes, but some of their items and ideas are excellent. And it's just difficult to get some of that visibility. So although, James, what you were saying at the start, there's less barriers and there's a bit more visibility, there's still problems with the system.
Oh yeah, no, there's always going to be that issue with it's being popular allows you to be popular. Sometimes it's really important to be first more than it is to be good.
It's true,
get those comments in quick, people.
Yeah. So I feel like that's a bit of a turnoff, because I do feel like when you democratize too much, you really do begin to lose like really the diamonds in the rough. I mean, there are still a lot of circumstances, like there's kind of a long-running joke where you can add boobs to everything in a Elder Scrolls game, including mud crabs. Like, and those are the things that will be popular.
Right.
So with Dota 2, I mean, what if all of the popular things are suddenly just these incredibly sexualized, characters or skins? And I feel like that would be negative, and it would still very likely become very, very well rated and popular.
Yeah, but that's like anything in life, though. If you put boobs to it, it's gonna get popular really, really quickly.
John, that's the thumbnail for this image, okay? For this episode.
Oh God. Well, changing the subject for a minute, going back to CS:GO getting their workshop, it's going to be interesting to see how that's going to pan out because when you play CS Source, the server has to host the map and all that, and then you actually see what you're downloading. As it stands right now, when you are downloading a custom map from a server, you don't know what you're downloading at all. It doesn't even tell you anything. So I'm wondering, how are they going to set that up with Workshop? Are you going to, if the server is running a custom map from the Workshop, is it going to somehow show that image while you're downloading it from the Workshop while you're still in game?
Ask permission or something like that, yeah.
Exactly. So it's going to be interesting to see how that's going to pan out.
But that's something that's always happened. I mean, that's no different than how it's been for literally over a decade. You hop onto a server, if you don't have the map, you download it, and then you start playing it. You don't know anything about it before. So I don't really see that as a negative thing.
Well, the only thing I see is, right now as it stands, you don't know what you're downloading. In old terms, you'd actually see the file name when you're downloading and saying, oh, this is map like so-and-so, or Fight Yard Winner, or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you would have the map name, that's true. But are you saying that you don't have the map name anymore?
No, when you download something custom in CSGO, it's just a bar that's loading. It doesn't tell you anything.
But that's because there's no workshop support right now, right? So it may be different.
Right.
Yeah, they might add something.
I mean, Gary's Mod's had something, right, Nick? You've been playing Gary's Mod for a decade or whatever it's been. There's they've had a custom system they add in. It shows you the map you're downloading and all the files that are coming in.
Yeah, well, the Gmod still uses the old CS Source system where it shows it on the actual sort of grey bar down the bottom, which kind of newer Source games don't use because they've kind of scrapped the kind of whole everything looks the same model. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, CSGO might have something like that. It might get something with Workshop. So if anybody's in the Workshop beta, they can probably let us know. But I think they do need to add something like that, because if what John's saying is true, then it could be an easy way for server hosts to get anything on your computer. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Without you knowing. So. Yeah.
I don't know. Is there any other topics? Because I have a really good ending question I think would be good for everybody.
John, what's your final thought for the day?
What workshops do you want to see still become a reality?
Alien Swarm.
Alien Swarm would be good. Would be really good.
It makes sense. It's the one thing they said that game should have. They were talking about how the tile editor would make it a lot easier for that game, but no one really plays it. So is there any incentive? Is there any reason? I mean, they're porting Half-Life and Counter-Strike to Linux at the moment. They obviously have they'd rather go back to games like that than support Alien Swarm anymore.
I mean, you say that, but Alien Swarm never cost anything to begin with. So, you know what I mean? The only incentive would be the whole games as a service thing that Gabe's been talking about for years. That would be the only thing I'd say.
But yeah, it was probably more of a rhetorical question, was it for you at the moment, John? Anyway, I wasn't literally answering, but I think we're throwing it out. Throwing it out there to you guys. Tell us what you'd like to see.
Two things I want to see happen is a Fallout New Vegas workshop and a Source Filmmaker Resource workshop.
I like the second one a lot. That sounds like a really good idea. Yeah. That's an excellent idea.
Yeah, that sounds like something that would get used a lot.
There are so many awesome, models that people have made just for Source Filmmaker, and it's just a hard, trying to locate and where to download them. And I think if they have a workshop so everyone could just put all their content there, I think great.
Each week on Dota 2 as well, they have they add assets which are used just for Source Filmmaker. I think they have to add things.
Yeah, they added some last week. Yeah, some trees.
So
and
they're
things
consciously
like that,
having to do that. So it seems to be picking up speed. So that's a very good call, John. I think that may be something which would be in the pipeline. Hopefully, we'll see that in the near future. But Counter-Strike Go is the next one, so it might be out by the time you guys listen to this, or perhaps not. But if anyone has access to it, let us know if we've said something which isn't quite correct about how it's going to be set up or what it's going to be like. But that's pretty much everything from us for this episode. We'll be back perhaps in another 2 weeks' time to discuss our next topic. If you've got any tips or anything you want us to talk about, leave them in the comments. Let us know.
And if you want to help me with any model projects, please let us know.
Only if you put breasts in the thumbnail.
What's your email, John? Just throw it out there.
It's John.
I wouldn't.
Maybe not.
John wants you to work for free at gmail.com, okay?
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, right, yeah.
Right, guys, we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.